More about this and much more. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. We are seeing her venture forth now after what some would say was quite a while. And I don't know whether you'd say she was sort of forced to do it, or why do you think it's happening now? I mean,
well, she's being forced. Her whole plan was to stay away from the media all the time, and it started playing against her. But okay, she's gone on 60 Minutes, but can anyone tell me her 3 points of what she's going to do if she wins? No. And so it's not breaking through. You've got to, if you ask Trump...
I can tell you what she said.
Sure, yeah,
you're asking me what she said?
Yeah, what are the 3 things she will do if she wins?
She's going to try to deal with housing, right?
$25,000, yeah.
No, $25,000, and she's going to try to build more houses so that there's a greater supply. She says that she's going to give $50,000 or a $50,000 credit to small businesses, right? What else is on your list?
I'm sorry, you can't run for president. You can't say, I'm going to stop immigration, build the wall, I'm going to make the economy stronger.
You can run
for president. But the idea that you're saying that nobody knows, I mean,
but you can't. You can't
Kevin, she says she's going to raise taxes on corporations. She's going to raise taxes on
individuals.
She says she's going to do that to maintain programs and increase programs for what she says is the middle class. She says she's going to support Roe v. Wade. I mean, those are the things she says she's going to do. On the other side, it's...
You don't have a clear... I can't believe running for president this time, every single American can't say 3 things.
She's running for president by not being Donald Trump and not being
She's
Joe
running
Biden.
against somebody instead of for something. So if she was to win, to govern would be very difficult. And look, I think everybody's missing the wrong polls. This is a very close race. There is no undecided voter anymore. It's whatever candidate is able to get out the low propensity voters. An interesting poll came out last week, and it was Gallup. It's something they always do. They don't ask you who you're voting for. They ask, who do you identify with, Republican or Democrat? And for the very first time, Republicans beat Democrats, and they beat them by 3 points. Now, if you correlate this to past elections, and you see the disparity between Republican and Democrat, you usually go like 3 or 5 points, you can tell when a Democrat wins the presidency. There was a second question in there they asked, who was best to solve the problems in the future? Republican. So I take it as it's a better climate. Republicans should be performing better. And it all hinges down to Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania's tied right now. And if you look back 4 years ago, Biden was winning Pennsylvania right now by a high number. If you look at Wisconsin, Biden was winning Wisconsin by more than 6 points, but he only won it by 20,000 votes. So you can't really play into these polls that are in the margin of error. What do they mean? And is Trump still getting the underpolling that he got before?
But look, we made that point earlier. That there's a very good possibility there's a massive undercount going on. We've seen in 2016, Kevin, we saw in 2020.
Could we ever ask for, do you think, more fairness in the way everything's going? I'll make one point now. The outrage machine for Elon Musk for now endorsing Trump is out of control. Now, Twitter is still a free exchange of ideas from both sides. On the other hand, the New York Times just endorsed Kamala Harris. That's the 17th straight Democrat the New York Times has endorsed since Dwight D. Eisenhower. That was the last time. That was 1956. Take your pick of any Democrat you want to go along the way. They've endorsed every single one.
So they endorsed Mondale over Reagan in re-election.
But the arbiter of all truth and all fair journalistic integrity in the world does that every year. Not a word is spoken about. But Andrew,
can I just say something? And I just want to say this about the New York Times for half a second. There's an editorial page of the newspaper.
No, I understand that.
And then there's a news page. If you want to conflate them, you can go ahead and try to do that.
I am conflating because
I understand that.
You see the choice of the look. There is an overriding viewpoint from the Times that is manifested everywhere.
I would say
Andrew, it's not just the op-ed
I would say at the end of the day,
17 straight. You didn't have a single one that
All I'm
Go ahead,
suggesting to
Kevin.
you is there was an editorial,
17
but it was an editorial page. I just don't understand.
You don't think the rest of the paper?
No, I'm not
okay.
gonna, and I'm not gonna engage in that with you. But the other piece of this is,
You ever feel like a
Can I-
divorced child? In
but-
between?
Go ahead, Kevin.
well, no, because it's
You
just
cannot deny
Look,
that
I think the
overall
arbiter of what we
viewpoint
need
the
to
New
do.
York
Okay,
Times-
pause,
and I can say that your
pause.
overall
Time out, time
point,
out.
which you bring into the news conversation every day,
Right.
the overall point
We
that
all-
you
we
bring
both
into the
do.
news conversation
We
every
both
day is one that is of a conservative Republican who is
Right.
explicitly supporting this president.
I'm talking about.
Okay,
at this
that's a
point-
distinction.
I'm
that-
talking about at this point, Elon Musk suddenly has totally become the out. Keith Olbermann said he needs to leave the country and X needs to be shut down. Why? Why not the New York Times then?
I think the point Joe's trying to make is, you get treated differently
There's no doubt.
if you come out and endorse Trump. I think it's are a Republican for that. But people loved Elon before. And I think overall as Americans, we've got to get to a point where we can respect somebody's differences of opinion, right? You may have a difference of opinion. I was just texting with somebody today that's mad at me about my party, right? I still like the individual. I just text back, oh, you made me smile. You made me laugh, right? I respect that you have a difference of opinion, but I want to have those discussions and not dislike you over it. Elon, we can't bring our astronauts back from space unless it was for Elon. We just had a hurricane where these people can't have internet unless it was for Elon. If you're somebody from the left and care about the environment, the only person that really developed an electric car everybody loves is Tesla. So you shouldn't dislike Elon because he hinges on the belief of the First Amendment.
They're saying
That's
that there
what
must
drives
be a
him.
deal for Elon with Trump where his businesses will benefit instead of.
No.
Obviously, the preferred candidate for Elon Musk would be someone who wants to make the EV transition
Elon's
even more
preferred candidate is the Constitution more than a
at this
person.
point.
Overwhelmingly, look, I've known Elon for more than before he was very wealthy, and he's always hinged on one thing. He is direct. It's about the Constitution. And what's moved Elon was buying Twitter and seeing what government has done and trying to knock down people's First Amendment rights, even if it goes against him.
Do you think you're going to lose the Republicans lose the House?
I don't think so. I think it's the environment.
I think 60% Democrat on the probability now on politics.
Okay, then let's walk through it. Republicans start by getting 3 more seats in North Carolina. They get the 4th. They'll pick up Alaska. We'll win one in Colorado. We've got 2 in Michigan with Slotkin leaving there we could pick up. The problem being is with the asterisk there, it's easier to win seats this cycle than the last cycle. Democrats have more money. In the last cycle, we had more money than the Democrats. We were on offense. Right now, the Republicans are playing defense. That's a problem.
Can I ask, earlier we had Frank Luntz on, and he said this is so close. He doesn't think polling has gotten any better than it was before. He could see a situation where it's 268 to 270 in the Electoral College. And I know you talk about how we really should be able to disagree with people and see it, but I just wonder if there's a bit of a tinderbox that's building up in this nation right now, if it's a really super close election that hinges on a few thousand votes.
If it's a really close election, then the polls are right. I think what the country needs is a decisive election. Because if it's close, everyone's going to assume, I was so close.
Like, if half of the country thinks that they got the election stolen.
The other thing I think the country needs is, look, I think we should say right now before the next election, when you come down to 2 candidates, they have to agree to 4 debates. 3 debates, each one has to be on an individual topic for the whole time, whatever the top topic is.
That would
Economy,
be great.
immigration. And the 4th one is a free-for-all. So the country also gets educated on the issues itself. And they'll share ideas, right? And then the other thing has to be is, our last 2 elections were not people going to the polls to vote for someone, they went to vote against someone. We need an election about ideas. Presidential elections should be aspirational. What should the next 4 years for this country be? And then when the electorate decides that, it's easier to govern. You can move those policies because the country decided that. This is where we're failing one another. And look,
what would be the issues you would say for is it the economy?
The economy?
Foreign intelligence /
I'd say the economy,
defense?
the border, foreign policy.
Right. Yeah.
Those 3 are core to what we
Can I just ask you
talk about.
a question? And I think, look, I think there's a lot of people who look at this election, this particular election, and they're actually not even looking at the policies that you're talking about.
No.
Or the ideas. The ideas have nothing to do with it. I think they're literally looking at the character of these 2 individuals. That's it. and they're saying to themselves that one, I think that Democrats would say that they believe that the other side is effectively disqualified, right? And by the way, they would actually look at words that you used and some of your peers and colleagues used after January 6th, where you said that he was disqualified, and that would be the
Not
evidence
that
enough.
term, but
I'm just saying that's what they would look at, and they
so
would
you're
say,
saying democracy is on the ballot.
I'm saying that there is a large portion of this country that looks at this idea, just broadly speaking, about, you talk about the Constitution, democracy, this and that, and they look at January 6th, they look at the character and some of the things and the hate and the sort of disposition of the two candidates, just on personality alone, and they say to themselves, I'm not even looking at the policies themselves, right? I know people who would look at this election and say, you know what? Vice President Harris, she could be, I know people who would say she could be okay to fine to maybe bad. And the same people would say, I could see Trump be all the way to good to absolutely horrific, right? And that delta is just too much.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying, like, that's a little bit of the calculus here.
Okay, the point you're making, for the same reason, and that's why I asked you about democracy on the ballot. I think both sides believe that. And I believe there's a big core of people who don't ever want to vote for Trump. Personality, whatever they want, or January 6th. But I'll tell you, there's a big group on the other side that believes the exact same thing on the Democrats using the court system to go after somebody politically. So this is why they both think it's a big issue, but they both view it totally differently.
I don't think you should be able to judge either side as being bad people, and that's what I hear
but they're
every day.
They're not bad people.
That's what I mean,
And
but I hear it every day.
This is the difference, though.
Right,
you should respect somebody that has a reason why. Now, look,
and you
but the
shouldn't think
hard
they're
part is-
stupid.
but think of this.
When you say bad people, I
didn't say bad people. Well,
No,
if I said bad people, I don't mean
But here's the thing about the good people, bad people thing. People look and say, and now you have to decide that courts and juries in America are no good. If you want to take this position, but people look and they say, here's a person who has been in court, who has been convicted on one end, has been.
Would Trump ever have been in court had he not won for re-election?
Have raped somebody. You can go through the bankruptcies and all. People just look at that and they say,
Andrew, you know he would not be in court
raped.
if he wasn't a candidate. But beside all this, look, nobody's bad. You respect everybody's opinion. But let's get to this point.
But there are no court cases that involve her doing any of these things, right?
And there's no case where she even ran for president. She never went to Iowa. She never went to anywhere else. So you just had the last election during COVID where times were different. Now you're having an election where somebody didn't even run for office and then got put on the ballot.
I'm not disagreeing with that, by the way.
Situation.
So we'll stipulate
Donald
that that's
Trump
the case.
was not convicted of rape in the case involving E. Jean Carroll. A New York jury found him liable for sexually abusing Carroll and defaming her in a civil.
So is that a good person or a bad person?
Don't you?
Is that a good person or a bad person?
I'm not saying that, but
well,
don't you think you should be more careful if you say someone was convicted of rape?
I didn't say the word convicted. I said found to. Found to. Found.
I think
that was the. That's the language. Go ahead,
Andrew. But
this is our problem.
But you don't get anywhere with 50% of the country. They
don't believe judges. It's like they're.
I guess not. They've litigated through this and still decided to support him.
Apparently, and
the question is,
you're
not smarter or a better person than them because of that.
I don't know. Maybe I am.
I know you think that.
Okay, I respectfully. Both of your positions, but my point is exactly this is where America's at. You didn't talk about a wide open border and who has what policy to fix that. You didn't talk about inflation.
Right.
Who has a better policy for making our economy stronger? We're not talking about foreign policy where it's very challenging.
We've got Orange Man bad. It's
the
same thing. We see it. The TDS. We see it. It's Orange Man bad, and you're never going to get anywhere.
You got to let.
It's my life. So,
but we're in a major challenge right now.
To that.
I mean, you talk about the economics of every day. We've got a debt about to break us. We've got a world that looks like 1938.
By the way, on the debt front, I do not think that we've heard from former President Trump with a true demonstrable plan to reduce the debt and deficit.
We could have talked about the taxes. He's spending all kinds of money.
But by the way, I don't think that Harris has a better plan to deal with the debt and deficit either.
We'll be right back. They're taking us out. We'll be right back.